Okay, class, so in the last video we mixed neutrals from red to green. We added green to red, came up with muted red, and then went to neutral. Made sure that we had enough space for two pieces of neutral. Added some white so we had a nice neutral gray. Went back to the dark neutral, added that to a bit of green to get a muted green, so that we made the continuum from red to green. In this continuum, we're going to go from orange to blue. We've got to find our perfect orange, add blue so that we get a muted orange, add more blue so that we get to neutral. Make sure that we have enough of a swatch for two shapes of neutral. Add white so that we can see the neutral. Go back to the dark neutral, add that to some blue, and then we'll be at pure blue. This is the muted blue, then we'll be at pure blue. So, I'm going back to my yellow to red continuum, and I'm finding the orange that I think is right in the middle between yellow and red. We want there to be equal parts of red and yellow. And with orange, for some reason, I always have a hard time seeing it. I'm thinking that it's somewhere between this one and this one, or somewhere between this one and this one, so I'm choosing this one here. So I'm going to mix an orange here that feels about like this. And then I can adjust as I go along. I'm going to mix it in its own little puddle. This is just pretty random to get started, but you can mix it much slower if you feel a bit hesitant about it. Or you could go through this process very quickly if you feel like you know what's going on. So I can take this and kind of look there. I feel like this is a little bit on the yellow side. Still getting my paint to the right consistency, so add this. Make sure that I have plenty of paint to start with. The last neutral was confusing. This neutral is going to be even more confusing. So I want to make sure that I really have enough paint to get myself through the whole thing. So I'm feeling like that's too yellow. Go a little farther. To start with my orange. This is looking pretty good. I'm feeling like that's pretty good. Just a little yellow. This is half intuition and half science. So I've got my orange here, and I'm going to start adding blue. Let's see, I'll put my little blue puddle here. So I am going to start my continuum from orange to blue. Blue is much stronger than the orange, so I'm going to add the blue to the orange. I want to find my muted orange, get a swatch of muted orange. I won't grade this swatch based on it being equally between orange and neutral. So just as long as you have something that looks muted, that is enough for your grade. I want to be able to see the orange in it, but also see that it's muted. So this looks like it's looking right. Okay. And now I'm going to be a bit more bold with my blue. I want to get the crud off of the top of the brush and mix that in so that I don't have any streaks. There are plenty of times when you are painting lovely things when streaks are going to be perfect, but in this situation we want to be streak-free. Let's get another muted orange just so that we have a few choices. I'm going to try to get closer to neutral. And ideally, this neutral is going to look as close to the other neutral, as to the green to red neutral, as possible. So I'm still seeing a lot of orange in here. And it never ceases to amaze me how mixing these two very bright colors together gets you a neutral. That just is amazing how they cancel each other out. So I feel like I'm getting close to this neutral. Let's see how it looks here. Now if I feel like I see too much orange, then I would add more blue. If I feel like I see too much blue, I would try to go backwards and add a little bit more red and more yellow. On the other hand, if it looks too green, what do you think I have too much of? If it looks too green, I have too much blue and too much yellow, and I need to add more red to my mixture. Pretty weird, eh? If it looks too purple, it means I need to add more yellow. It gets very complicated. So you want to add the opposite. But in this case, it's definitely looking too orange. So I want to add more blue. That's pretty clear. I want to add, if it's looking too much of any color, I want to add its opposite. And at this point, I have the three, I started with orange, but I have the three primary colors there on my palette, so I know that if I add one or the other, it's going to slant it in one way, in one direction or another. And this is a very hard concept to understand. So if it takes a few tries, that is to be expected. Another helpful thing is to keep your other neutrals around. So I can see, this was my other neutral, I can see that this is much more red than that one. So I might need to add a lot more, more yellow. But just for the sake of figuring things out, let's see what happens if we add a little bit of white to just kind of see what's going on. So if I just add a little bit of white, usually I can get a much better sense of what's going on. While I'm at it, I might as well do a full swatch. You never know when you might get disturbed or you might not be able to finish your continuum, and this might be the best swatch of neutral you have. So I'll just do a little swatch there. And at this point, it looks like it is too red. So that means that I need more yellow and more blue in my mixture. Because if it's too red, it means that I need more green, and yellow and blue make green. So if I take some yellow, and I take a little bit of blue. Yellow is a much stronger pigment. I just realized that I forgot to rinse the white off my brush, so hopefully that won't make too much of a problem in my painting. But these kinds of things, they're bound to happen, and just kind of roll with them if you can. I'm going to add a little more blue. And a little bit of water because I feel like it's starting to dry out a little bit. So I also want to make sure that I am labeling. So I'm just making a line from one to the other. Putting down what I'm seeing here. So this is going to be my next example. You see, you might be able to see, but you might not. It's a little on the whitish side, and that's because of the mistake I made by not washing my brush off. So this is that. I'm feeling like it's a little on the warm side. I'm also having a little bit of trouble kind of identifying which colors I see. So if I have a moment where I'm thinking, I don't know, it just looks brown, think to yourself, well, is it a warm brown or a cool brown, if that makes sense? Or think to yourself, is this brown more on the blue side or more on the red side? And I'd say that it's absolutely more on the red side. Is it more on the orange side or more on the yellow side? I think it's more on the orange side. So if I try adding a bit more blue and a bit more yellow, I think I might be getting in the right place. Let's try some yellow. And a bit more blue. Okay. It's looking pretty good. It's getting close. I feel like it's a little bit on the red side, so before I even... I'll try this one. I can just see what's in there. It's always good, you know, I almost didn't make a swatch because I'm telling myself, I can do better, I can do better. But if I don't, I might not be able to do better, and this might be the best I get. So it really is in my best interest to make sure that I get a good swatch of each one, even if I can kind of tell that it's not quite right. Okay. pencil. So I'm labeling these, and I'm not sure really what I see in them right now, so I'm kind of going to get a few different variations here. Make sure that I wash out all of my white paint from my brush. Put the napkin aside, or the paper towel aside. It's starting to get a little too dirty for my liking. Another one there. Okay, so I'm feeling like I need more blue. And more yellow. And now I'm definitely seeing a lot of blue in this mixture, so I'm going to go back a little bit. And just get a teensy bit more blue. You see, this continuum is one of the hardest ones until you get to yellow. Then you'll be like, ah! Okay. A little more. I feel like this is it. Okay, let's try right here. Yeah, there we go. And at first glance, I feel like I can't see any one color in here, so I'm feeling really good about this one. Let's take a little more of this. And you see how it's feeling pretty similar. And I just want to make sure that I get the right value. Because it is very satisfying when all of the center triangles are the same value. Okay, we've got this. This might be the best I've ever done until it dries and it'll look like something completely different. And I'll say, oh, that's awful, which is often the way it works. Okay, I'm going to try to get just another swatch of a slightly different value, just a little bit darker. I am feeling like this is a little bit on the yellow side, but the important thing is that you start to see that. Not that these things be absolutely 100% perfect, but they are as close as they can be. Ooh, a little bit of water maybe. My paint is drying on me. Do I have enough? Yes. Okay. So, wipe off my brush, stick it in the water, and see what I've got here. So, I've got orange, got muted orange, another muted orange, and then I was trying to get neutral. That was the dark neutral and the light neutral. It was obviously too red. The dark neutral, light neutral, still too red. This dark neutral, light neutral, still looking red. I tried this neutral, a dark neutral. It felt pretty good to me and very similar to this one. And so I got a light neutral and then a slightly different value. Are these perfect? No. At this point in time, as it's drying, I'm seeing this is a little more on the yellow side than this is. This one's a little more on the purple side. It's, you know, you're never going to get it absolutely perfect, and if you do, I'll probably come back and say, can I see your swatches, because I think you cheated, which would be a great compliment if you didn't cheat. And inevitably, every semester, that does happen to one or two people that I think, this is impossible. How'd they do this? But they really did. So if I do ask you to see your swatches, don't be offended. Now I want to make sure that I get my muted blue. So I'm getting some muted orange back. I'm going to add my blue. Try to not have any white in it. And make sure that I get a swatch that's 1 inch by 1 inch for a muted blue. This is quite dark, so I'm going to try another one. It's just hard to even see that it's blue. I want to see a hint of blue in the muted blue. That's why it's got the word blue in it. And this will probably be good. Yeah, I can see some blue in that, and that's what I want. So again, we've done our continuum from orange to blue. I don't have my pure orange on here because I have it somewhere else. Muted orange, some examples of muted orange. This is, no, this is the neutral. Dark, light, lighter. And then blue, muted blue. Okay.